These stupid ugly.
So I just text her back and say how much do you want?
Just sold ones. I don't know.
I would just text her and say. The
guess I could-
commissions are not set,
Yeah.
everything's negotiable,
Okay.
let's talk. Let me come see your house. I thought that was JD Vance.
How do you get in there?
All right, we'll start in 2 minutes. It only takes a second for me to get my call.
I'm sorry, when you go next, is it okay to go in people's backyard? Like, can you open because some houses are fast,
Oh, no, that's trespassing.
right?
Yeah,
It's not okay.
that's not okay, no,
How
you can get shot.
do you get them here the north side? Because most people don't have ring on outside. Has to have.
You cannot enter someone's private property. You have to knock on their door and ring their bell. If they don't answer, all you do is leave something.
Okay.
So if your outdoor knocking, whatever you're about to leave, just write on it, sorry, I missed you. Just handwrite, sorry, I missed you. We'll get started.
I did.
God, it's a side yard or
I
something?
did.
Oh, man.
But it was Venice, so you guys missed.
Yesterday I fasted for like 25 hours.
Yeah, great.
That was good.
I'm not
Jewish
sleeping.
cleansing fast. Jewish holiday. Yeah, it was a Jewish holiday. What about you?
What you do? I feel like I do nothing compared to you.
It was just a fast.
Stop beating it. I want to do the interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, welcome back. I know.
When was that?
I got bronchitis with the AC, and then I was like, I'm not coming back to this. I'm like very sensitive to this.
I just.
Yeah. God. Well, it's good that you're back. Bronchitis. I don't even wanna think about that. Bronchitis.
So it's like, I gotta bring my clothes.
Yes.
Thank God the AC is not blasting. Usually
It's a discipline thing I wanna, but
I mean,
it's not hot out that
Definitely.
it might just be that it like doesn't feel as strong.
It's good to.
You're not wrong. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like it's on the same
It's like
level.
yeah, your system.
it's like perfect.
I should have-
How you been?
Good, I've been.
Oh, yeah.
Open houses. I have a fire.
Great.
Well, it's just slow.
So.
And I'm not connected here, it's like kind of see from where people are. It's happening right now.
You usually do open houses like every Sunday?
I'm trying to, I met a couple at one of their open houses and they told me that I could host it for them as much as I want, because it's not property on the market so long. And then like if I want to do other ones that they have, they said I could just ask.
100%.
great.
Yeah, and so
Or less organized.
I'm trying to get a buyer through the last open house I did for that property. Because
Maybe yes.
she was like talkative and she was saying like what they were actually looking for, and I said I could send you more stuff, but if you like leave your email or something, so I emailed her 2 properties that fit like their criteria. I just need her to respond and just say, yeah, I want to see those houses, and then I can give her the, okay, so this is required now, sign this, and I can show you these properties, and then if you want to put an offer, I'll write your offer, and then please, just let me just one. We'll
So
see.
when you met the people at their open house, you just told them like, hey, I can post your open house?
No, when I went in, they were, it was like a married couple and they were just like super friendly and they told me all about it and they said they had just built a team. So I think they were used to like new agents and they just shared a bunch of stuff and they were like, yeah, if you ever want to host it, just text us. So I got their contact info and doing it.
That's so cool.
Quite nice. That's,
Yeah.
What are the 3 rules of real estate? 3 rules of real estate.
Never say never.
Location, location, location.
Thought you were gonna
What are the 3 rules to a seller?
disclose.
That's it. You got it. Disclose, disclose, disclose. So today is all about disclosure. And to prevent lawsuits. So today, I have to say, today is August 14th. I'm just doing this for the video. Hello, video. And the reason I'm announcing the date today is because yesterday, commissions were removed from the MLS. So today is the day after. Everything for today is history. The old way. Today is the new way. So everything's going forward today. When we do a showing, we have to have our buyers sign something for every showing. There are 3 documents that you can choose from to give to a buyer. There's the baby bear, the mama bear, and the papa bear. So the baby bear is called an open house non-agent. OHNA. That's the baby bear. And that just means that buyer has not made up their mind yet. And if you're giving that baby bear document to a buyer, that buyer has not made any decision yet on anyone representing them. Okay, that's for someone who has not made a decision yet on who's representing them. When you're doing an open house on Sunday, you're gonna have to print a bunch of these. Okay, it's the OHNA, the open house non-agency. You're gonna print, that form is a 1-page form. It has 7 signatures on it, room for 7 people to fill out. So, print 5, 6, 7 of them, have them ready for your open house. Someone walks in your open house and they want to look around, that's totally fine. Once they start asking you questions, then you need to say, I need you to sign one of these. You can pick anyone you want. This one says you're not represented or haven't made a decision yet. And I'm here representing the seller. Right? Or not, or I'm hosting someone else's open house, but I'm just having this agency conversation with you. What an agent. Normally the person sitting here is representing themselves. Right? And then there's the mama bear.
Wait, so that's just saying that you're representing the.
The OHNA is the open house non-agency. So that just means that we're having a conversation with someone who walks in and we're putting them on notice that because they're not agreeing yet to use us, anything that they say to us, we can convey to the seller. So if someone walks in my open house and they say, I've backed out of my last 50 escrows, that I want to write an offer on this. I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to be in escrow with you. You're going to back out on this. Like, you've already done it 3 times. You're going to find an ant crawling across the floor and you're going to back out, right? Like, that's not the buyer that I want. So this is putting buyers on notice, basically, that you're there to represent the seller, and anything that they say can and will be used against them with the seller.
Okay.
Now, also, there's a choice. Now, if a buyer walks in your open house and says, I want you to represent me, I want you to get me this property, right? Okay. And there's 2 other forms. So one of them is a showing, which you're going to have to get signed when you take buyers out, or when buyers come in your open house and say, I want you to represent. It's the showing.
What is it called?
Showing. It's called showing. I mean, if you basically just search for the word showing, it'll pop up. It's the property showing form. Property showing.
Some open houses yesterday. I know he was doing.
Right. Yesterday, no, but they should have started yesterday. They should.
Yeah, that's what I was.
But it's technically the 17th, technically. But I'm going to show you something that's really even more interesting. So, okay, now there's two forms that someone can sign if they want you to represent them, right? There's the showing form, and then there's the form that we've always had called the buyer representation agreement. That's the BRBC. We've always had that. So that, I call that the Papa Bear. It's potentially the Papa Bear because it's the only form that there's a box that you can check exclusive. It's the buyer representation agreement. That's the only one that's exclusive. If you use the showing form, it's not exclusive. So you have three forms. You have the open house non-agency, the showing, and the buyer rep. Only the buyer rep has the potential to be exclusive.
What's a buyer rep called? BR?
It's called the BRBC. Buyer representation and broker compensation.
And then I thought if I sign a property showing form to you, I thought that means that I'm exclusive to you. So if you show me another property, I'm gonna buy it.
So what the property showing form does is it explains agency. And it also says that I, as the agent, have to do certain things to be entitled to a commission. I have to have broker involvement. What's broker involvement? I need to be the one to introduce you to the property. I need to be the one to show you the property, and I need to be the one to write your offer.
For the showing as well.
That's for the showing.
That's for the show.
That's for, like, that's what I have to have broker involvement. So I have to take you to the property, show it to you, write your offer, analyze the property, meaning send you comps on it. Yeah. That's if I want to go after you as the buyer for the commission. I have to show broker involvement. If a buyer calls you and they want you to write an offer, that's fine. Or you have to still have it signed. Still have to have it signed, but
I show you a house and then
the broker involvement thing is only if my buyer's challenging me that they don't owe me. That's. I have I took you there, I introduced you, work your offer, but like, then the buyer's on it.
so, but they don't have to sign anything that you're exclusive.
Exclusive is gonna be a buyer rep agreement. Now, in our industry, for the past 20 years, they've always been pushing agents to sign buyer rep agreements with their buyers, always. Like, no one has done it. Like I say, no one. 95%, 98% of agents never did it. Like, if I took a buyer out, it's on a handshake, right? I'm showing you property, you're gonna write your offer with me, obviously. Not so obvious, right? But obviously, that's why I'm doing it. If I'm taking you out and spending my time, I'm expecting you to write your offer with me. But all the time, agents will come in my office and they say, JG, you're not gonna believe what happened. My buyer walked in an open house, they wrote an offer with listing agent, or another agent called them with a pocket. Right? And they wrote an offer.
Look at how that agreement,
It protects you.
how does
Actually,
it protect me though?
because a buyer is committing to you that they will use you as their agent.
So isn't that the
And that
same
you're,
as the other one?
why would a buyer do that? Because you're spending so much time working for them and they're not paying you out of their pocket right now. Like, if you go to a doctor's office, they're gonna say, here's a clipboard. Write down your insurance. This is how much we charge for a visitation fee. Dentist, everything. It doesn't matter. Lawyer gets a retainer. Like, you know, every business in this world gets paid. We're the only business that doesn't get paid until there's a closing. Like, it's crazy. So at least now we're forced to use the buyer rep agreement.
So you have to do, so that one, you do it before you show them the house?
We're not allowed to show a house without having something signed. You
Okay.
have to have the showing signed. You have to have the showing agreement.
I forget, January 1st is gonna be,
Right, okay, so there's something that's very interesting. So right now, you know, the National Association of Realtors was sued. Right, so anyone who's a realtor, this is part of being a realtor and part of being an MLS member. We are required to do this because we're realtors. However, there's gonna be state law that any licensee, whether they're a realtor or not, has to have a showing form signed, starting January 2025. So it's not just for realtors. This is a state law that every single person will have to sign a showing form. There's no way around it.
So if you were to say, oh, I want you to show me other properties, and I said, okay, you have to sign this. And then you sign it, then you decide, actually, I don't like these properties, I don't want to work with you. Can you just leave?
It's a non-exclusive.
That's for the second one.
The showing is non-exclusive.
So
But-
if having them sign if it's not,
Because we have to explain to everybody what agents are. and how commissions get paid.
Okay, so what would you say to them? Like, right now, I want you to show me 3 other properties. What are you gonna say to me?
So, okay, so I need you to pick one of these two. I need you to pick one of these two forms.
So either the,
Before you can see a property with me or with anybody, you're gonna have to sign one of these forms.
so either
This is a
the,
show, this is a showing form. And I can put 3 properties on that showing form. Or you can sign a buyer rep agreement, which you'll never have to sign a showing form again. Right? Because that's a blanket, that covers any property I take you to. Today, tomorrow, the next day. But if we only do the property showing form, that's only good for the properties I'm showing you today. If we do tomorrow, I have to send you this form again, take you out again, I have to send you this form again. But if you're, that's the showing form. And a buyer rep agreement is a blanket, that'll cover all properties I show.
How long was that for, that 90 days?
So the buyer rep agreement is good for a maximum of
90 days.
90 days.
obviously,
The BRBC is 90 days, the
the buyer rep,
showing form is 3 months, is 30 days. 30 days.
But you said only for today, if they sign the showing.
If you're using the showing form, it's only good for today, it's only good. I can't use, I can't have you sign a showing form with, it's good for 3 addresses. So
Even if you just have to do it on the same day.
same day, right, so if I take you,
this form is good for,
the open house form is only good for when they walk in the open house.
right,
So if I'm taking you out to see property today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you sign the one today.
what is it?
Even have you sign the ones for tomorrow. I can add the address on there, but I can't add an address after you've signed it,
Oh, I know.
right? So if you've signed something that has 2 addresses on it,
That's the.
I can't use that same form tomorrow and add an address because you've already signed it,
Got it.
right?
So I'd have to come to the person and have them
You're
sign.
confused.
I understood.
Right.
If they
How can I add something to a contract you've signed
Because it's
already?
a contract, I guess.
Well,
I can't add,
them no.
I can't add a property after you signed it. That's not,
Go.
yeah, that's literally, I can't do that. So, but now you can sign the buyer, you can sign the buyer rep.
No,
That's
they're available.
If you sign the buyer rep agreement, you don't have to worry about this form anymore. That covers us on every property that I'll show you in the next 90 days.
Can I ask, do we have to offer these 3 forms, or do we just, without offering, can we just show the buyer?
Okay, so when you say, do we have to, the issue is, here's the real issue. There was a lawsuit. And there were a lot of settlements that got paid out. And we're off the hook now. However, anything we do going forward, there's not gonna be a lawsuit to protect us anymore. Like, we have to abide by these things to do in order to avoid future lawsuits. Right? Our errors in emissions insurance will protect us if we abide by the rules that we're supposed to. If we don't, we could be opening up ourselves to potential lawsuit. No one's gonna stand behind you. So let's just say you take someone out and they don't sign something.
Well, let them sign, but like, do you have to get them confused with 3 forms, or can you just offer the buyer pension agreement and tell them, we're gonna have to, like, for me to be able to show you a property?
There's gonna be a conversation with your buyer. Do you wanna hire me full time as your agent? Right, and that's the buyer rep agreement. And the buyer rep agreement can also be for a specific property. It doesn't have to be a blanket coverage. It can be just for one specific property. It can be exclusive. You can mark the exclusive box for one specific property. It's cool.
Do we give them an option to mark the exclusive, or does it automatically comes with the exclusive?
It's automatically non-exclusive unless you check the exclusive box.
So I think
And
it's
do I check?
And then there's an additional initial that they have to do. There's a whole box called exclusive that they have to initial, that they understand what they're initialing, but it's exclusive.
So just want to read through it with them and try and get them to sign just this and try and avoid that showing form, because that extra
Yeah.
form is just a little bit more complicated. So this can be,
Do we have any option to try to avoid forms, or do we like?
for this
So
one,
unfortunately, a huge burden has been placed upon all of us that we now have to deal with all the paperwork. It's a burden for all of us, but here we are. But it actually protects us.
It does.
Don't you feel good? Once your buyer signs something saying they're paying 2.5, don't you feel good now? You know they're not gonna go write an offer with another agent.
I know they're not gonna sign this, I feel like,
How huge that is though?
it's really good, but
It's really
if I
good.
ever buy, would it just sign the second one always with any property?
We had a coach here, Susan Rose. She was our in-house coach a long time ago. And she, you know, she's all about tracking. And she said, for every buyer's agent that had a buyer sign a buyer rep agreement, that was equivalent to a sale. Every single buyer that signed that agreement bought something,
No, I am okay with the buyer.
getting them to
representation.
sign.
getting them to sign. Well, they have to sign it.
This is a nice form, but giving them three options and actually getting, they'll automatically, I feel like, will pick the mama bear,
Pick the mama bear, fine. Fine.
which doesn't make,
But once they get sick of signing the mama bear over and over and over, you're gonna just sign them up on the,
but also they have the conflict of not sticking you with, they're not stuck with you.
okay, then we have to talk about the clients that you're representing. You want to keep working with them. Because it sounds like you,
Are just like
no, it sounds
scared.
like maybe you have non-committal clients, like I'm a little hesitant.
Is not willing to sign a paper, they're not gonna do it. We all been through this. You can't.
Scared, they may
No,
not know what.
No, I had an attorney, I had once an attorney who refused to sign it because she was expecting me to work for me.
So there are people out there that want you.
And she did it to 3, 4 other people.
Yeah.
After 2 years of going around, I found out it wasn't the only
We
victim.
got JD Vance on our team. I have no idea how he got there. It's not a political at all. JD Vance got his real estate license.
And just to confirm for the second one, the showing, you are representing the buyer. That buyer that signs that one sheet with you, even for that property or 3 properties as a max. At that moment, you're creating the agency between you and the buyer.
So
But that's property.
interestingly, the showing agreement doesn't have an agency attached to it.
So what are they showing? Just the showing?
It's just showing, it's just the showing form, yeah. You're gonna create an agency when you write the offer,
Ah, I see.
when you write the offer.
But that's the first step to
That's
create that
the
agency.
first step is
Unlike,
telling them what agents are.
Mhm.
But then you still have to have broker involvement.
right, okay.
So you're gonna write their offer. It's one of the criteria.
That's one.
When you write their offer, the agent
form.
form is
That's what it is.
the agency.
So the only time they're committed to you is in the last one.
The only time that you have full commitment is an exclusive BRBC.
Okay, and
It's just how it's always been the past forever.
so the first one is OHNA and the second one is property showing and representation agreement.
Correct.
And then the third one, BRBC.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you show us one more time how to pull it up on?
Yeah, so that's why I didn't,
Yeah.
that's why I didn't do it yet.
Put it on.
Because we're doing disclosures, okay, so the first step with everything is how to get to all the forms, right? So I'm gonna hand this, let me just hand this out. How do we get into all these?
Transactions, but then you get this right there.
No, I mean, that's how you get to them. You
Yeah.
It's transaction 3 times.
Transaction. Alright, I'm sure there's an extra one playing around. Alright. Transactions. Okay, so how do we get to all of our real estate contracts? Go to car.org. What I've been noticing, now there's 2 different ways to get the forms. You can get them online at car.org. Everything we do is online now, right? So this is cloud. This is your account in the cloud. You can also download zip form desktop. There's a desktop software that you can install on your computer. When you use the car.org website, the forms that you're pulling up are always the latest form. It's always going to be the most recent up-to-date form. When you use zip forms desktop, it's downloading the forms, okay, onto your computer. Every time you restart the program, zip form desktop, it checks the server to see if the forms have been updated. And if there are new forms, it will give you an alert. Hey, the forms have been updated. Do you want to download the new form? And then you have to press yes. Sometimes you'll press no because you're using a 1-page form. You don't care if it's been updated or not. You don't have the time to wait, whatever. The reason I'm saying that is because I've noticed when I use my zip forms desktop version, the forms have been being updated every day. So even though the general form is not changing, like, but they are making little edits here. So
That would be here, you would see
you
that.
wouldn't even see it here. You wouldn't see it here. I'm only seeing it because I'm using the desktop version in my office.
But
So
the desktop version of this.
the desktop version of this where you have to download. So every day I get an update. There's forms have been updated. Would you like to download?
Oh, I see. So you have to download.
Yeah, so I just know personally that the forms are being updated every day.
Okay.
Like they're getting it, you know, they're constantly tweaking, making them better. All right, so
DJ.
Yeah.
I think something we have been unable to verify your realtor membership for 14 days.
okay. I don't know. That is an individual problem.
Please close and restart. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes there's a glitch. I don't know. You gotta log back in. Sometimes you have to call them and say, hey, I'm having an issue. All right. All right, so car.org. And then I always say you're gonna go transactions. The first thing you're gonna do is log in. So let me just do that. I'm gonna press sign in. And I'm gonna sign in. So then that takes me back to this page. And then I'm gonna go transactions. That's not transaction center. It's transactions. So this big circle here has access transactions. That's where I'm going. So that's my first transactions. The second one is going to be down here. It's zip form transactions zip form edition. I can press the yellow access now, or that's my second transactions. The third one is here. It's validating me right now. And I'm going to go continue to transactions. All right, so that takes me into this screen. This is my dashboard. Now from here, I can press add new. So I have a little plus new thing here on the left. I can click that and it's going to ask me to create a new transaction category. So is this a listing? Is this a purchase? Is it a lease? Lease listing? This is only for filing system. This is just for the filing organization. It makes no difference which one I click. I'm always going to have the same form library. So right now I'm just going to say purchase or offer because if I'm doing a buyer. So normally, if I'm working with a buyer, we haven't selected a property yet, I'll just put their name. It's Donald. And then it's a residential property active. It's my buyer's name, residential active, and then hit save. That creates a new transaction. And over here it says the transaction's name is Donald Doug. Fine. Now I'm going to click on this bar here where it says documents. And if I click it, there's no documents in my transaction yet. I need to add some documents. So I can do that by clicking this all forms button in the upper right. I can also do it by going over here and saying add a document. So I'll just show you. If I click this all forms, it'll take me to this list of forms. If I click add document, I can click here add form and it'll do the same thing. The additional stuff here on add document is I can upload a document from my computer or I can get it from an online storage, cloud storage. But I'm just interested here in the California Association of Realtor forms. So this is where they are. Now, if you look at here at form libraries, there are different libraries. So the one I'm interested in right now is California Association of Realtors. So you're either going to have that or it's going to say all. It doesn't matter. But I just want to make sure that I have CAR forms. If you look, the very first form is the buyer representation agreement. The way that they got that to be on top is they put a period in the front of the name of the contract. So it just alphabetically, when it starts with a period, it goes to the top. So they have a buyer rep agreement. They have a California residential purchase agreement. The offer is the second one. And they have a cover sheet. And then a residential listing agreement. All right, so these are the three buyer. So if I'm going to do a showing, just so you guys know, like right now, today, you have a client, they want to go see a property. What are you going to do? You're going to have to go on to CAR, log on. You're going to have to create a transaction. You're going to say add, you're going to say new transaction. You're going to name it with their name. And then you're going to come here and you're going to click on documents. And then you're going to go all forms. And then in this search box, you're gonna type the word showing. Because that's what you're doing, is showing. And that's, this form should pop up, property showing and representation agreement. So if you click that form, it just added the form into our transaction. So now you're gonna go into that form. And you need to fill it out. So date prepared, I'll put today. Buyer's name is Donald. Daisy. Daisy. And this is only good for 3 addresses.
So if you don't know the 3 addresses, like when you're at
You
the,
don't know it, just leave it blank for now. I think you guys should always have a blank one of these in your car or your purse. Or
this is like if you're doing, if you're at the open house and then they agree to sign on with you, or this is if someone wants to see multiple property.
This
Buyer
is,
wants to see multiple.
this can be used for someone walking into your open house. If they come in and they say, I want to use you as my agent.
Right.
You can use this. Now, this is non-exclusive. It can change their mind. They can still change their mind. If someone walks in my open house and they are trying to get information out of me, I need to say, are you working with an agent? Right?
So like if they're asking about the house or something, they just walked in and they want to ask about the house, you're gonna ask them that?
If they can walk through the house, they can do their thing. But as soon as they start asking me questions for me that I have to answer, like I can just stand there, they can tour the house, I can give them the MLS setup sheet, no problem. Once I start answering questions about the property, they have to decide which form they're signing. So there's the non-agency form.
How would you explain those 2 forms to them?
Let me add that form. So this is the
Oh, one second.
OHNA, Open House Visitor Non-Agency. Thank you, JJ. How did you add that form? So I went here and I pressed add. And then I pressed form libraries, and that's the CAR. So, and then I just put here open house. So house, and it pops up open house visitor non-agency. So this form is a 1-page form that allows for 7 people to sign it. Okay, and it just says, agent does not represent the visitor. Communication with an agent at the open house is for the benefit of the seller. It's putting them on notice. Communication with agent is non-confidential. If the visitor writes an offer on the property through an agent, at that time, the agent will disclose the agent's the seller exclusively, or both the seller and the visitor. If the visitor wants to be represented by the agent holding the open house, the visitor should sign one of these 2 other forms, the property showing form or the buyer representation agreement. Yeah, so these, you're gonna have 3 forms at your open house. You're gonna have this one, which is baby bear.
Could you go higher? I just need to get
This is the open house visitor non-agency. This is when you're doing, now, this doesn't have to be an open house. You can still have a buyer sign this if they are undecided and you're showing them a property. Even though it's called the open house visitor non-agency agreement, if you look at this first sentence, it says, agent is holding an open house or conducting an in-person or live virtual tour of the property. So let's say you call me, you say, JJ, I need you to do me a favor. I can't show my client a property. Can you please go show it for me? I'm gonna have them to sign this.
You're gonna have the
I'm gonna have
client?
your client sign this when I show them the property.
So you will be the.
I'm doing a favor for you. You're calling me, JJ, I need you to show a property for me as a favor. Please, can you do this for me? And then I'll reciprocate in the future when you need me to show a property for you. I'm gonna have your client sign this. It basically says to your client, I'm doing an in-person tour of the property, but I'm not representing them. They're gonna put your name here. Their name, they're gonna sign this with your name. Right? That's a situation where this form would be used.
They're working with another agent.
They're gonna sign this, because they're gonna sign who their agent is. So it says visitor's name, visitor's agent, if any.
And the occasion where they don't have this.
You're gonna have it tomorrow. You have to have forms down. This is now our requirements. We all have the burden now. So,
They have
Basically, no
agent
choice.
also.
No showing appointment without these.
no. They have to pick one.
They have an agent, the agent also has to sign it?
If
They have to write.
they have an agent with them,
Huh.
you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
If the burden is on their agent, don't worry about it. Yeah,
So if you have an open house and someone walks in and they ask questions, you say, do you have an agent or anything? They say, I do have an agent, but he's not with me.
great. Can you sign
And
this?
this.
Can you sign this?
And you're not able to discuss anything because they haven't,
I can discuss everything with them.
oh,
After they sign this.
Okay.
oh, once they
Once they
see
sign
that they
this.
have an agent, it's okay. Okay.
No, I'm not, I mean, obviously it's negotiation, so whatever I divulge to them, I'm protecting my seller, right? I'm always gonna be bargaining and negotiating in favor of my seller, whoever I'm representing, so.
Even if they have an agent, but agent is not present with them, we still
Okay.
have to sign.
So like, yeah, like right now I have a lease listing, right? So I'm gonna get a call from someone, or I'm gonna get a call from an agent, and they're gonna say to me, my client wants to see the property, but I can't make it because I have a dentist appointment. I'm like, okay, fine, show them, they're gonna come to my lease listing without their agent, because their agent doesn't want to waste their time with their client, it's not, can't decide on them. So yeah, so now I'm showing them the property and I'm saying, can you please sign this? I'm telling the other person who has an agent, I need you to sign this. And they have to sign it for their agent.
So we only don't make them sign it if they have the agent with them to get it.
Now, are we gonna actually make them sign something?
No.
Just ask them nicely. And
Yeah, sure.
people just say yes, and they'll write as much or as little as.
Right, we are not police, we're not aggressive. This is not, you have to sign this. This is, it's not like,
These forms are making us to become aggressive.
yes, but again, you know. If they refuse to sign, that's totally fine. Let them walk their property.
What happens after?
You're just not answering questions for them, that's all.
You give them the brochure and then they.
That's it, they don't want to sign,
Like,
fine.
thank you very
fine.
much.
If every question they ask me, please ask your agent, please ask your agent, please ask your agent. Look, you guys are, we had an attorney here yesterday, Peter Haven, his response was. You're salesmen, figure it out. You guys are the salespeople, right? You're the salespeople, figure it out, sell it. Sell it, sell it, sell it, yeah.
Let me remind you that if they check with the Sophia, she can send them the from yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, if you email Sophia. Email Sophia, can I get a copy of yesterday's class with our attorney? And I guess she'll send you the link.
I
Excellent.
worked about half of it this morning.
He's a comedian, I like him, he's very.
Who do you ask?
Sophia, she's in that first district.
Is everyone clear how to get to CAR and get our contracts?
I'm still kind of confused because
Cause you can't get on, okay, we'll work that out right after class for
Can I
sure.
ask a question specific about it?
Yeah, yes,
Okay. Visitors' names and, no, slow down, please.
yeah,
Put up. Okay, agent, if any.
cause they might be undecided. They might walk in and say, I haven't decided. Okay, fine. I'll talk to you right now, I'll listen to everything you're telling me. And if you decide to use another agent, great, everything you say to me today will be used against you. When I say used against you, I don't mean really used against you, I mean. This is saying to them, communication with the agent is for the benefit of the seller, that's what I'm saying. Like, everything you tell me, I'm gonna convey to the seller. When you tell me you've backed out of 3 deals, I'm telling the seller you've backed out of 3.
But is anyone really gonna tell you that?
Yeah, they do.
You'd be surprised what people do and don't share. Everyone's different.
Even the agents,
But is that like the only thing that you would actually like tell the seller? Like, what really would you tell the seller? Like, what are you looking to tell?
I'm just telling the seller, we have to be, if you take this offer from this client, you have to be prepared that they're gonna back out.
Okay.
So I think we should shorten their time periods. You know. It's not good for a listing when it goes back on market, when a buyer backs out. Because now all the future buyers say, why did the previous buyer back out?
Oh, I see.
Why did they back out? Was there something I don't know? It just taints the property.
I see.
It's not good. It's very important for me as a listing agent, the buyer that I pick. The buyer I pick might be 5 or 10,000 lower than the next highest offer. But
He's
they
gonna,
have to have a place to go before school starts. Right? They have like, they're not an investor. Like investors can change their mind in 2 seconds. An investor that buys a property is in escrow. If a better investment comes on the market during escrow, they'll just take their money out and go to the better investment. And an investor is not emotionally attached. I would much rather go into escrow than an emotional person.
what other things would you look for in order to determine if they're serious or not?
That's talking to them. Why do they like this property? What's attracting them to this property? Are they qualified to buy it? And am I worried that their lender's not gonna be able to perform?
You would ask them that right at the open.
When I have a family at a property and the kids are running through, this is my room, this is my room, I like that. Right? Because the parents have to answer to the kids.
Hmm.
Right? And if the kids, nobody wants their kids to cry and be disappointed, right? So I like to see everyone's emotional attachment. That's for me, if I have to take that or an investor at the same price, I'm taking the family.
Makes sense.
Unless the investor comes in and says, 3-day inspection, all cash, right, then. Sorry, kids, you have to evaluate something. I mean, you have to evaluate everything, right? Everything. But as a listing agent, I want to go with the person. I don't even really have a decision, right? It's the seller's decision. But I want to convey to my seller, it's important that we pick the buyer who's not going to back out. That's really important because if the buyer backs out, we have to give all of their inspections to the new buyer. And they might have had horrible inspectors. And now we have a problem because, right, the property, someone backed out. Now we have to tell everyone why. We have to give them all these previous inspections. So who wants to go through all that? Let's just get the right buyer at the first time.
So you would ask them if they have a lender right there at the open house? When would you ask them for?
If we're doing an open house for another agent. I'm sorry, what's that?
When would you ask them if they have a lender?
So that's usually how I engage every buyer up front.
Oh, right at the open house?
I usually am talking to a buyer. Are you already in touch with a lender? Because now the question that we're going to be asking is, have you signed anything with another agent? So now that we're entering this new world of signed agreements, people are signing stuff, right? Now we have to be really concerned about what has been signed. If a buyer comes to you and they want to engage your services, you have to now ask them, what have you signed? I need to know everything you've signed in the past 90 days.
You would just say it like that?
Yeah. I need to know everything you've signed in the past 90 days.
And then you would ask them, do you have a lender?
Have you signed anything exclusive? My biggest concern is, did they sign a BRBC, the Papa Bear? And is it checked exclusive? And when is the end of that date? And not only that, there's going to be an exclusion date on the page 1. How much longer it goes after the end of the expiration?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
It extends past the 90
it
days?
can extend past the expiration date for the properties that were shown during the representation period.
But like, if I showed you, if I have 3 properties,
If you show me 3 properties today and I'm exclusive with you, let's say I'm exclusive with you for 1 week. I signed a 7-day BRBC exclusive. And you showed me 3 properties. And then the week ran out. But you have 90 days as your exclusion period. That means for the next 90 days, if you want to buy one of those 3 properties, you're going to owe a commission to your buyer agent during that next 90 days for one of those 3 properties.
so you'd still owe me.
So all I'm saying right now
If
is,
you're a buyer's agent, you would owe me.
yes,
90 days after the expiration.
however many days that you put in the clause,
And what's usually, how long do they usually
you can
put?
put whatever you want.
I know, but generally, what do you do?
So what I'm saying is now that we're in this new world, we have to ask buyers now, what have you signed in the past 90 days? And the reason I'm saying 90 days is because that's the maximum length of time that the buyer rep agreement is good for. We should actually be asking No, what have you signed in the past year? Because there's that exclusion period. Have you talked to anyone else about this property? Did any other agent tell you about this property? It's not enough to just email someone a property. It's not enough. That's.
I'm confused. I thought you said it, so if they have,
Great.
if they sign the BRBC,
Yeah, I'm going to flip the BRBC because I just want to show you what I'm talking
yeah,
about. Okay, this is the Papa Bear. This is the BRBC. It's the Papa Bear. Oh, we are buyer representation. Okay, here's the Papa Bear. So they're gonna sign an agency form now. We're listing a buyer. Here it is, buyer rep agreement. Okay, date prepared today. Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Keller Williams, Beverly Hills, representation period. So this says not to exceed 3 months. The reason it says 3 months and not 90 days is because there are some months that have 28, 30, 31 days, right? So you just gotta be careful. So if you're doing an agreement that February only has 28 days, right? So you're gonna go from February 28th to March, April, May 27th. Right, that's 3 months. So that's the reason it doesn't say 90 days, it says 3 months. If representation period exceeds 3 months, this agreement is void.
I thought you said after the time frame.
Now, down here, we have a continuation period. The continuation period shall be 90 or 180 days after the representation period. Or any extension, that's called the continuation
It'd
period.
be 90 to 180 days.
You can put whatever you want here, you can put 360. That's why it's important for you to ask, what have you signed? I need to see what you've signed.
Oh, okay.
Right. For us now, it's very important going forward. What have you signed?
How would you handle if someone, is
I'm hoping-
getting aggravated because
Well, this is the new world now. Everything else is history. Everything else is history. We can only go forward now. So I'm hoping that everyone has signed this open house visitor non-agency. Even if they've signed this showing, it's not exclusive. Honestly, the only thing I'm worried about is, did you sign an exclusive? That's really the only thing I'm worried about. Even the buyer rep agreement is non-exclusive. You have to check this box that says exclusive. And then
Sure, that's sorry.
there's an exclusive box that needs to get checked.
Where's exclusive? All right.
Exclusive here, right in the first paragraph, it says exclusive. Valid only if checked and initialed in paragraph 15. So even on paragraph 15, here's exclusive representation box. So that's what I'm really concerned about. Have you signed an exclusive agreement with anybody? That's my concern.
And how would you get them to, like, if they say, well, what's my incentive to sign this? Like, I can work with any agent, what would you tell them?
You can work with any agent, but you should be working with me.
Okay, why?
Because I'm gonna get you the property that you're looking for, and I'm gonna work hard every day to get that, to find that property.
Working with somebody like this.
I started at 11.
Yes.
All right, any questions on buyer rep agreements before we pass on that? All right. Now that we all know where to go, let me just, I'm gonna have this document to. Other butts. Yeah, I did have a question. What form is needed if we're doing an open house for another agent? If you're doing an open house for another agent, you're still gonna have the same forms at your open house. You're gonna have the non-agency agreement, the open house non-agency. You're also gonna have a showing form. Because the reason that you're doing an open house is someone can come in and you get those leads, right? Those are your leads. Someone can definitely come into the open house and say, I want you to represent me. Great. So you're already gonna have the property address printed on here when you're doing your open house. So you'll bring a few of these. And you'll have the buyer sign this. Now, there's no way to make this exclusive, this property showing. The only exclusive agreement is the buyer rep agreement, and you have to check that box, exclusive. But if someone is talking to you about a property, they're saying, I want you to represent me. You're either gonna have them sign this one or the buyer rep agreement. So you want to have all three with you at the open house. Yeah.
Okay, and also when they check that box, they also have the initial paragraph 15.
Yes, on the full. Okay. All right. Now, let's say that we are the listing agents now. And we need to prepare disclosures for our sellers to fill out. That's what's gonna happen. When you have a listing, in the purchase contract, it says that the seller has 7 days to provide disclosures. Okay. Now, we have a transaction coordinator in our office that can do that for you. It can prepare all the disclosures for you and send them to your seller to fill out. That's awesome. What do we do if the transaction coordinator is on vacation? Like seriously, what am I getting?
So what can she prepare?
So Brian is our transaction coordinator and Scott, they probably will never go on vacation at the same time, so that's good.
Brian and Scott?
Brian and Scott, yeah, so Brian is our main transaction coordinator. He will prepare a whole disclosure package to send to your seller for your seller to fill out. Yes. Now, we as agents still have to do our AVID. There's something called an agent visual inspection. So, let's talk about the AVID real quick. Agents are required to, we're not expected to be inspectors. I'm not an inspector. You're not, unless you are an inspector. But we're not inspectors. But we do need to give a visual account of the property. So when I fill out my AVID, which I'll pull up in a minute, I'm gonna walk through the property and I'm gonna just note like stains on carpet, marks on walls, cracks in cement. I'm never using adjectives like big or small. Cannot use adjectives because what's small to a seller is huge to a buyer, right? That little small crack, the buyer's like, that small crack, that's huge. So it's all, I don't use any adjectives, just crack in wall, marks on walls, stains in carpet, broken bent, crack above door, crack in window. That's what I'm doing. Cracks in tiles, worn cabinet. Cabinet needs adjustment. All right,
You know when the cabinet's worn, and it's not just
You're
old.
gonna see a cabinet that all the top layer is worn off,
Oh, okay.
right? So I'm just gonna say worn cabinet or wearing on cabinet. What's called torn screen, right? Stains under sink. I'm just thinking of like normal things that I'll see. If I go outside, if you have a house that has ivy growing up the side of a wall, you'll call that out. You'll just say, ivy growing on exterior wall. If you see,
Is there any particular reason for the ivy?
yeah, you have an ivy covered English Tudor house, right?
It's a good thing, right? Not a bad thing.
Sorry.
Sorry, ivy is a good thing, right?
So it can be very pretty, but if you're concerned about pests, it's not a good thing. So a pest inspector is going to say there should not be any earth to stucco wood, earth to wood. Like that, those kind of things just attract pests like termites. So it could be gorgeous, right? Now, when you go to a property that actually has like plants growing on a wall from a pot, that's the time that you want to include potted plants on your offer. Right, because that's personal property. So just make sure you check the box potted plants. Because that's part of the beauty of the property.
So if you put too many things here, it's not gonna be like a bad thing for you. You know what I
Too many
mean?
things on what?
You list too many, yeah.
You shouldn't be putting a lot of personal property on a purchase agreement, because the purchase agreement is for real property. So the lender might not want so much stuff, personal property listed.
What do you mean by personal property?
What are you including? What are you asking about? Furniture?
No, I'm saying like if you go in and you see the house,
Oh, what am I putting on the AVID?
yeah, so like if you put too many things on that, wouldn't that be an issue for you in terms of like selling it?
I don't.
How much is too much?
I don't want my client, so when I fill out an AVID.
Yeah.
I'm describing what I'm seeing. I'm not, obviously, I'm not being crazy. But I don't, the way that when I fill it out, I pretend that my client is out of town. And they're coming back into town. They're trusting me to describe what I see.
Mhm.
So I don't want my client coming into the property and saying, JJ, why didn't you tell me about this giant hole in the wall?
Hmm.
Right, JJ, why didn't you tell me all the tiles were cracked in this bathroom? That's what I don't want to happen. So the way when I'm filling it out, I'm just protecting myself that they can't say, why didn't you tell me that?
Okay,
That's all. Why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that? So I'm just trying to avoid that scenario. All right, now, where do we find our checklist? So I have them in my shared folder. I have a folder in my shared called KWBH checklists. But if you go to KWBH virtual, I know you guys are all going here for the calendar, right? KWBH virtual for our calendar, right? You go here, helpful links. One of these is called approved logos and checklists and disclosures. So here we have checklists and disclosures. So let's start checklists. So this is the first place you're gonna go when you're in a transaction, when you get an accepted offer. You're gonna click on checklist. And let's see, now this is currently sorted by icon. You can, up here, you can choose if you want to list them out or sort them like that. So let's look at the different checklists we have. We have a commercial checklist for commercial.
Sorry, I'm on the,
You're on KWBH
yeah,
virtual. Click the down
I did,
and then go to helpful links.
and then I got.
Approved, and then from helpful links, you're gonna go to approved logos, checklists, and disclosures. Should be one of the links. And then once
Your sync as well.
it's in my sync as well. But here we're gonna go to our checklists. So now we have a commercial checklist, we have a lease checklist. We have a residential listing. So there's all different checklists here.
which one would you do?
So depends what kind of property. What are you doing right now? Are you
Residential?
now? Oh, you guys are commonly gonna be in a lease. Commonly, you guys are gonna do leases, just do it. So then you want to get the lease checklist. This one. Okay. If you are the listing agent on a lease, you're gonna go through this checklist to prepare all the lease paperwork. If you are preparing disclosures for your seller in a purchase transaction, then you're gonna pick this one, this KW checklist residential broker. This one. So let's look at that. I'm going to print this out and have this on my desk when I'm doing my disclosures.
This is if you're doing a residential,
If I'm selling a house or a condo, this is the transaction I'm doing. So this is a residential checklist. Look at it, it's 3 pages long. All of these files are required for a complete file. Now, again, if you use our transaction coordinator, he'll take care of this work.
This has been updated with the new.
It's been updated, it hasn't been updated this week. I'm gonna go through it and make recommendations to Michael Rosales if we need any. He also updates it.
so if we use the transaction coordinator, we don't have to do the checklist?
Correct. You can rely on the transaction coordinator. This is a benefit to having a transaction. What's what call again?
This form.
Well, this is a checklist for residential. There's a residential sale. It's the broker updated 2022. All right, so let's look at the checklist, because again, today's about disclosures. Let's just look at this checklist and why it's formatted the way it's formatted. So This checklist is for residential sale. All the forms have a number on them, and that is just for organization. If you are the listing agent, you're going to have an RLA, the residential listing agreement. There is column here for B and for S, that's for buyer and seller. You have the source, where is the form coming from? So all these forms are coming from CAR. Those are all in zip forms. All these disclosures are Keller Williams disclosures. They're KW documents. So we have a mixture of CAR forms, Keller Williams disclosures, and then we have forms that are coming from escrow. Those are the three different places things are gonna come from. Okay, so far so good? All right. Now, the reason that we have a column here for buyer and seller is so you can keep track of if you have the documents completely signed by the buyer, then you check them off. And you're waiting for the seller's signature. Once the seller signs, you check off seller, or vice versa. When I send out disclosures to my seller and they sign everything, and I get them signed only by the seller so far, I'm gonna check off that the seller has signed all of them. Send them to the buyer's agent, check them off. As the buyer's agent returns things to me, I need to go back to my checklist and go through each document that the buyer signed. If the buyer missed one of them, I'm gonna make a note over here. I'm just gonna say, need this. Until the end of the transaction, I wanna make sure I have a complete thing here. Buyer and sellers checked on every single one of these. And then we have a complete file. Our broker requirement is to have a complete file. In order for you to get your commission check, you need a complete file.
Need to do what?
In order for you to get your commission check, you need to have a complete file. That's how the broker enforces compliance with the Department of Real Estate.
And how much the transaction coordinator, we just pay them ourselves like individually?
So the transaction coordinator, I think, is $450. Is that right? $350, $450. No,
$500.
$450. Can't be more than that. It's at the maximum, $450.
No matter the amount is.
But you only pay the transaction coordinator on a closed deal. You're never gonna pay them out of your pocket. It gets deducted from your commission. You don't have to worry about paying. And if we use our escrow company, Haley will pay the transaction. She'll pay for it. So you can get it free. Why would you not use free? Right.
Oh, but who's Haley? Cause I know you said Brian.
Like Haley is,
I've seen her.
yeah. Haley is our Cannon Hills escrow, Cannon Hills closings.
Checklist was set anyway, because
So this is the residential checklist. So
I like to add that.
this is the one KW checklist residential broker updated Feb 2022.
Okay, I meant the
Okay, what's-
residential checklist.
Yeah.
This is different.
They're all the same. They're all pretty much the same.
This is just one page. You have 3 pages.
Yeah, which one are you looking at? Residential listing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe.
Go back.
So understand there's a listing, there's a purchase, but these are Word documents. Residential 5 units or more. If you're selling a multifamily, or even a vacant land checklist. So again, this is us now. We have to provide disclosures to the buyer. So we're providing disclosures for our sellers to fill out. All right, let's look at what I handed out. Let's just look at that.
The disclosure that we're providing for the sellers to fill out is, which one was that?
That could be any checklist. So we're gonna actually go in and
But if we use a transaction coordinator, do we?
you don't have to worry about anything. The only thing you'll have to worry about if you're using the transaction coordinator is your AVID. That's the only form you'll have to worry about. It's the agent visual inspection disclosure. Let's just read what I handed out real quick. So this is from the point of view of being a listing agent. Okay. So at this point in the transaction, you will have an accepted offer, right? So you have a property, you put it on the MLS, you did your open houses, offers came in, you accepted an offer. Great. Have the seller fully execute the purchase contract, including counter offers. Now, I want to stop at number 1. An offer came in and your seller either accepted it or countered it, right? If your seller accepted it, then that's the only document. That means that they They initialed every page and signed the acceptance paragraph, right? Then you have an accepted offer. What if your seller gave seller counter offer 1? Here's the question. Did you, as the listing agent, did you provide only a 1-page seller counter offer 1 to the buyer? Or did you have the seller initial every single page and sign the acceptance paragraph and check the box that it's being accepted subject to the attached seller counter offer 1? That's the proper way to do it. Yeah,
It was.
yes. Yes. So when. So here I'm going to add a purchase agreement. So that's the residential. California residential purchase. So in the purchase agreement, this is just writing an offer. So when you write an offer. When this offer comes to you as the listing agent, the seller still needs to initial every single page. Right? The seller's going to initial every single page of the offer. When you get down to the acceptance paragraph for the seller, acceptance of offer. Seller warrants the seller as the owner of the property has the authority to execute this agreement. Seller accepts the above offer and agrees to sell the property on the above terms and conditions. Seller has read and acknowledges receipt of a copy of this agreement and authorizes agent to deliver signed copy to buyer. Seller's acceptance is subject to the attached counter offer. Check below. So if you are gonna give a counter offer to a buyer, you need to check this box.
And then what does that do? That means if,
It means that you're attaching a seller counter offer 1 or seller multiple counter offer 1.
why would you do that? If like the seller doesn't.
I want more money. You wrote me $900,000 offer. I want $1 million.
So would you do that every time?
Yeah, so you have to. You have to. The seller wants $1 million, not 900,000. You wrote an offer for 900. Now, the reality is there's 100 terms in this offer. 100, not just price. Right? There's how many days for escrow? How long does the buyer have to inspect the property? How long do they have to get a loan? How long for an appraisal? Right? There's a lot of terms. How long do they have to visit the property even after they remove contingencies? There's a lot of terms in here. Maybe they only want to put a $5,000 deposit. I want a 3% deposit. So the seller has to accept all the terms of the offer subject to the attached counter. So the seller is going to initial every page. They're going to sign here that they accept subject to a counter offer. The counter offer is only going to say the things that they don't agree with, that they want to change. So my counter offer is going to be purchase price to be $1 million, deposit to be 3%. This is who I'm using for escrow. This is who I'm using for title. Right? So, and then that's going to go to the buyer. Now, if you're using a counter offer or a multiple counter offer, the difference between those is a counter offer can be accepted and we have a binding deal. A multiple counter offer can be accepted, but we don't have a binding deal yet because the seller always has the last signature on a multiple counter.
Oh, weren't you?
I can only send you a multiple counter if I have two offers or more. I can't just send you a multiple counter. There has to be multiple offers.
So is it better for you to do this seller counter offer?
I'm going to send a seller counter offer to you if you're the only offer. If you're the only current offer, because that can be accepted and we have you've bound my seller now. When you accept that,
Do you always check the seller's counter offer?
always check this. If I forget to check this box and I send a counter offer without checking this box, I've now accepted this offer.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Whoa. We got an offer for 900.
Like what?
We got an offer for 900.
And that's it. That's
We forgot to check this box. We filled out a counter offer for $1 million, but forgot to check this box. You accepted a $900,000 offer.
Who can you?
Are you open to being so fair?
That's why we have errors and omissions insurance.
Let's say you made a mistake like that.
So most of the time, if you submit this with the counter offer and you forgot to check the box,
Mhm.
you're gonna go crying to the broker,
Boy.
right? But in law, I'm not a lawyer, but in law, they generally want to know what was the intent.
Mm.
And if you attached both of those documents in an email, the intent was obviously you're accepting subject to the counter, right? If you didn't send them at the same time, that could be a challenge. But if you sent them at the same time in the same email, the intent was obviously that there would be an attached counter.
What would happen? Would you call the other agent?
Crying, I'd be calling them crying, and then they're gonna say, oh no, your seller signed the 900.
They'll do that?
Sure, why not?
They're bad.
Well, of
No,
course
because it gets them what they
I
want.
didn't send it at the same.
Yeah, but it happened accident. It's not intentional, so I have a little bit work ethic. You could have done the same thing too.
If they gotta look at.
Yeah, but they don't care about your mistake.
Counter.
It's a benefit to them and their buyer.
Representing.
It's
If you represent the
priority, it's not you.
buyer and you got an acceptance, and then 30 minutes later, oops, I made a mistake, here's the counter offer. They're gonna be like, what? No. You accepted it. Not giving me a counter offer 30 minutes later. Right? So anyways, just make sure you check that box. Make sure you check the box. Okay, now,
After the lender approves everything.
the lender gave the buyer a pre-approval before you wrote the offer, I hope. All right, let's go back to this. At this point in the transaction, you'll have an accepted offer. Have the seller fully execute the purchase contract, including counter offers. The reason that I'm having that as point number one is because you as the listing agent might have only given a one-page counter offer. Now you need to go back and have your seller initial every single page of the offer. Right? You sent a counter offer only, and that was accepted. Now you need to tell the seller, I need you to sign every page of the offer. The seller's gonna be like, I'm not signing that page of the offer. It says 900. I don't agree to that. I'm not signing the listing. I'm not signing that offer. I signed my counter offer. And you have to say to your seller, no. We're accepting all the terms of the offer subject to what we countered. There's a lot more terms than just the price. Like you're accepting all of those other terms subject to what we changed. That should cool your seller. All right, email it to the buyer's agent so they have a copy. Yes. Email it to our transaction coordinator, Brian. Okay. Email a copy to escrow along with the contact information for your seller and the other agent. So if I'm the listing agent and I have an accepted offer, I now have to email Brian. I'm going to email the completed document to the other agent, and I'm going to email escrow my client's contact information and the other agent's contact information, right? So I'm the listing agent. I need to tell escrow who the buyer's agent is and the contact information for my sellers. The other agent is going to give the buyer's contact information to escrow, right? This is something that has come up in the past, and I just want to mention it. We as agents are only responsible for getting signatures from our clients. We will never email clients on the other side of the transaction for signatures. We only get signatures for our clients, right? Unless you're specifically instructed by the other agent. Okay. Now, also I want to point out, if my client is signing in ink and not DocuSign, like I'm bringing papers to my clients to sign, the originals I'm keeping and only giving copies to the other side. I'm never going to give originals to the other side. Because once originals leave my hand, they can be changed. And they can be argued that that's the original. Right? So let's just say, when would that happen? At inspections. Let's say the listing agent, so I'm representing a buyer and I go to inspections. We have a general inspector, the pool inspector, chimney inspector, termite inspector, everyone's there. And the listing agent brings a stack of disclosures with them that are original. Or not, or copies, whatever they are. They hand them to me. My client, while we're sitting there, we have nothing to do because the inspectors are doing their thing. My client's like going through and signing everything. I'm not going to hand everything back to the other agent. I'm going to take it back to my office and scan it and send the copy to the other agent. I never want the agent having originals from my client. All right.
You don't want to know the original.
I don't want the other agent having original signatures for my client. Because they can change for anything. Because they can change the document and say that's the original. I have to protect my client. All right, escrow should respond to you now with a draft of escrow instructions, which you will then compare to the contract. So this is real life, guys. This is what I do when I have an accepted offer. It doesn't matter if I'm representing the buyer or representing the seller. Once escrow is open, escrow is now going to prepare escrow instructions. In the escrow instructions, it's going to say the date of acceptance, date of closing, how long we have to inspect. Sometimes they'll put in there when the loan is due, when the appraisal is due, inspections are due. Okay, so what do? I go to my friend Google. And in Google, I search for date calculator. And I go here, calculator, add or subtract from a date. So this is my handy dandy date calculator go-to. So let's say we have an acceptance date as of today. I'm going to select today, this date 14/24. Now, all days in a contract run from the day of acceptance, not from the day we open escrow. If we have an accepted offer today, but escrow doesn't open until Friday, that doesn't matter. It's from the day of acceptance. So this is when we start counting. So I'm going to put the day of acceptance goes here, and then we need to start adding days. So it says here add. So I'm going to have to add 3 business days. 3 business days, I'm just going to look on a calendar. What are 3 business days? Because that's our deposit. So if we have an acceptance today, Thursday, Friday, Monday. So the 19th is when the initial deposits due. I need to go on a separate calendar now and pull up the 19th and make sure it's not a legal holiday. If the 19th is a legal holiday, it goes to the 20th. Okay. All right, now we have, say, 17 days for our loan contingency and our appraisal and our inspections. So I'm going to calculate new date. And that takes me to Saturday, August 31st. Well, that's not going to work because that's a weekend. So August 31st, I'm going to have to go now to September. And September is the 2nd. So I have to make sure September 2nd is not a legal holiday. If September 2nd is a legal holiday, then it moves to the 3rd. Now I have to do this for my whole contract and verify that the escrow instructions are correct. If the escrow instructions are not correct, I'm going to email escrow. Oh, by the way, September 2nd is a holiday. Can you please change that to September 3rd? And then escrow is going to take everything that I said. They're going to say, thank you very much. They will change the escrow instructions before they send them to the client. Okay, and then we have a 30-day close of escrow. Calculate new date. And that's Friday, November 13th. Do we want to close on Friday the 13th? You have any buyer that wants to close on Friday the 13th? I don't know. I'm not superstitious, a little bit, I am. But, do I want to close on the property I'm going to live and move in with my family Friday the 13th? I don't know. Yeah, it's not.
Can you say no or can we do the month?
Can we please close Thursday the 12th or Monday, right? So maybe, Friday the 13th. Whatever, it's just a day. Just a day. But look, you can have different religions have different holidays, like, who knows? Just pointing it out. So this is how you do it. I go to Google and then I Google date calculator. That's my thing. And I click on the first link, add or subtract from a date. I put here the acceptance date, and then I add all the days and I compare these dates to what escrow gave me. Okay. Escrow is going to respond to you with a draft. Yes. You'll then compare that to the contract. Check acceptance, closing, contingency dates for accuracy. Also check spellings of names and that the property address is correct. You guys think I'm making this up or I'm just putting here stuff for just to add verbiage? No. Check this stuff. Make sure the address is correct. Make sure the names are spelled correct. Respond to escrow with your approval or changes as necessary. I like to use date calculator, timeanddate.com. That's what I showed you.
Yeah, so you go to Google and
And here, if you can go directly to timeanddate.com. That's where timeanddate.com. If the date falls on the weekend or holiday, it'll get pushed to the next business.
time and date.
Okay, preparing the seller's disclosures. Buyer's agent will now be scheduling inspections. Yes. So this is what's gonna happen now. You have an accepted offer. The buyer is gonna want to get their inspectors in. Ideally, hopefully, these disclosures are completed prior to inspection. If I'm a buyer's agent and I'm hiring people to come inspect a property, I wanna hopefully have at least the transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire. I want the seller to tell me where there's been issues. There used to be a leak here, there used to be a leak there. We had a problem with this, but we fixed it.
But what if the seller doesn't tell you any of that?
So hopefully they are, because the morning that the inspector is coming and I'm meeting the inspector, I'm gonna say, oh, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Inspector. The seller said that there used to be a leak in the master closet. Can you please check and make sure it was fixed?
Okay, but I'm saying, what if the seller doesn't tell you?
And I'm on my own. Then I'm asking the listing agent, are you aware of anything?
Let's say the listing agent's not aware and the
Yeah,
seller,
they might say buyer beware, caveat emptor, you're on your own. Which is often the case in commercial. Or when you're buying something that is an inherited property. The kids maybe grew up in the house, but they haven't lived there in the past 25 years. So they don't know anything that's going on in that property, right? You're on your own.
what if you hire
You need to hire good inspectors.
what if you hire an inspector and they miss something like very?
And your inspector has errors and omissions insurance. It's gonna be a lawsuit between the buyer and the inspector. And the inspector missed something. Yeah,
Also, they take a responsibility.
I hope so. Hopefully you have a good inspector that's gonna take some responsibility. A lot of inspectors put in their inspection report. Advise further inspection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what? Advise further inspection. Yeah, that's how they get off, that's how they get themselves off the hook. They write in there, advise for a specialist. A specialist should be contacted.
I thought you were the specialist.
So I have a great inspector and he takes responsibility, he takes a picture, describes what he's seeing. And hopefully he doesn't advise further inspection. Sometimes he will. Like if there's mold somewhere, he's not gonna call it mold because he's not a mold inspector. But he'll say growth or spots, advise further inspection by a specialist. Like or geological.
Makes sense.
Something like he'll say that, yeah. Or a foundation crack, right? He'll say cracks, pictures. Advise a foundation specialist.
How do we find a good inspection person?
I like Yelp. I mean, I personally have people I've used for years, but I love Yelp because I can see who has 5 stars. Lots and lots of ratings. I'll actually go into the reviews and read the reviews. And want to not make sure they're just not BS reviews. I want to see real reviews. So I even look at the bad reviews to see what people are complaining about. Sometimes they're complaining about things that were not the inspector's fault.
Hmm.
Okay, so ideally, you should have the disclosures completed prior to inspections. You can either scan and email everything to the buyer's agent along with what has been docu-signed or bring them to inspections and go over it with them. So bring the disclosures to your inspections if you have them. Okay, regarding signatures, always keep originals. This only deliver copies to the other party. That way there can never be a dispute about what was written on the document that was signed by your client. Okay. It's not an issue with digital signatures. You always have a record of what was sent digitally. Print our office's transaction checklist. So I showed you that. You're gonna go to AWVH Virtual, print the office checklist. It's also available from my shared resource folder. Okay, you'll need to choose the correct checklist to match your transaction type. Okay. The buyer may have included some disclosure forms with their original offer. You will need to make sure you have everything. Seller should provide disclosure within 7 days. If we look at the disclosure checklist real quick. I just want to show you. So if we look at this, our our forms are bundled. The residential purchase agreement has a bunch of forms. Should blow this up. Anyways, if you look here, the purchase agreement has the agency disclosure, the fire hazard disclosure, possible representation of more than one buyer or seller, wire fraud advisory, the purchase agreement buyer inspection advisory. There's a lot of forms that are bundled. A lot of times, I'll send an offer to an agent and for however some reason, somehow, one of these forms is missing. What they return to me. It happens. But that's why they're listed out here. Just make sure that you have everything that should be included in the bundle. As the listing agent. So, right, as a listing agent, sometimes you'll get an offer, but it's missing one of the bundled documents. Who knows how that happened, but it happens. It's our job as the listing agent to make sure we have a complete file. And the supplier's agent. So, let's get back here real quick. Okay. All right. Create a folder on your computer for the transaction. So this is how I stay organized. I have a folder called properties. So properties should be in your documents folder on your computer. If you have a Mac, you have a documents folder, right? That folder gets backed up to iCloud. If you have a PC, you might not have backup unless you subscribe to OneDrive or Dropbox or something. So if you are a Dropbox person, in your Dropbox, I would create a folder called properties. If you're a Mac and you do iCloud backup, it doesn't matter, just have it in one place. Have a folder called properties, I suggest in your documents folder. So in your properties folder, create a folder for each address that you're working on. So if I'm writing an offer on 123 Crest Drive, in my properties folder, I'll have a folder called 123 Crest Drive. Everything that's associated with that property goes into that folder. This is how you stay organized. Okay. All right. Go through all the documents you currently have and start checking them off the checklist. For example, your listing agreement should be renamed 01-listing agreement. So remember this checklist? Number 1 was the listing agreement. I'm going to find my listing agreement and then I'm going to put a 1 in front of it. Purchase agreement, a 2. Agency, 3. Counter offers will all have a 5. So I'll bundle all of them together. This is what I'm doing is I'm assembling a file inside my folder and I can see, you know, as I send them, as I receive them, I'll be checking off the buyer and seller, and then I'll know that I have a complete file. Okay. All right. Open zip form, sign into CAR, transactions. Okay. All right. Alternatively, you can use the desktop zip form. Make a physical printout of the form named AVID. Okay, so here we're going to go back into zip forms. This is definitely what you are going to do at the easiest time to get this done is at your inspections. AVID. So agent visual inspection disclosure. Okay, so here is the AVID. This is what you're going to have to sign. This is what you're going to have to do at inspection. So the inspection just concerns the residential properties in the city of Beverly Hills. Right, it'll already have the address in here because you've already done a counter offer. So County of Los Angeles, described as whatever address, any address here. Okay, this property is for a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. An AVID is required for all units. This AVID form is for all units or just a specific unit. This inspection was performed by real estate broker firm name. So that's going to be Keller Williams Beverly Hills. That's us. Okay, page 2. All right. I'm going to just skip this now for now. We'll come right back to it. So down here, I need to fill this stuff out. Real estate broker, name of firm that performed the inspection. That's us. Inspection performed by, that's you or me. All right. Inspection date and time. So let's say we have our inspections today at 1 p.m. Yeah. Okay. Weather conditions, what was the weather like? Who else is present? General inspector, chimney inspector, sewer inspector, buyer's agent, buyer. The buyer's names are gonna go there, and the other agent is gonna go here. Who's the other agent? I don't know. Who's the other agent? That guy named JJ is the other. All right, let's go back to this. All right. At the entry, I'm looking outside the front door, inside the front door. There might be marks on the door. I'm looking at the peephole. There might be a crack in the glass on the peephole. That's what I'm saying, crack in glass on peephole. Living room, look around the living room, scratches on floor, marks on walls. Dining room, same thing, scratches on floor, marks on walls. Kitchen, crack tile, how many crack tiles? I don't know, looking around, opening up under the kitchen, stains on floor, stains under sink. Other rooms, hallways, look for dents in the corners of the walls, moving furniture. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bedroom 4. I like to describe which one is it. If I go into the master bedroom, I'm not gonna, people say primary, so.
What if they have 2 or 3 master bedrooms?
Right, could be, so then there's gonna be additional other.
You put master bedroom.
Depending how much you're gonna put here, if there's, let's say you're in a 5-bedroom house. So I might put your bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bedroom 4, and then down here, I'll just write bedroom, I'll describe this one, and then down here, I'll put bedroom 5. Okay. Bathroom 1, bathroom 2, bathroom 3. So the way that I do this personally is if I go into a bedroom that has an attached bathroom. So I'll go about bedroom number 1, primary, and then down here, I'll go bath 1 attached to primary, and then I'll describe what I see. How thorough am I on this? Depends how much time I have, obviously, but I like to be as thorough as I can. What do I do? I'm looking for stains, I'm looking for damage, I'm looking for rips and screens. I'm gonna sometimes turn faucets on and off. I'm gonna look under sinks. I'm gonna see, if tiles are cracked. I'm gonna see if this person, the sinks and the tub is missing. I'll note that. I'm looking for cracks in the ceiling and in the walls. I'm walking into the garage, I'm looking at stains on the cement, cracks in the cement. I'm walking on the sides of the property, just to note whatever. If there's a ton of old garbage, I'll say ton of old garbage, not ton, but we'll say garbage behind, garage. Yeah, that's what I'm putting in here. Now there's also a chance for you to, if there's something that you know about the property that should be disclosed, here's a chance for you to put it. If you're at a property that is next to a school or a church and you hear church bells or you hear buzzers or alarms going off between periods in school, you can say here, other observed or conditions not specified above. Property is near a fire station. Property is near a school, property is near a church. I heard church bells, like whatever. You're just disclosing it, no big deal. Okay, and that's it. That's your obligation. Now, if I go back to oh yeah, so I was actually in the right place. All right, now the form that we were just looking, the reason that we're doing this is because there's a form called the transfer disclosure statement. This is the first place that if there's a lawsuit for non-disclosure, this is the first place a judge is going to look. The first thing the judge is going to look for is your agency form. Disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships. That's the first thing. Do you represent? Who are you representing? Right. So that's the first. Okay. Second thing is, okay, what was disclosed or what was not disclosed? The real estate transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire. Look at that one, SPQ. These are the two forms that a seller has to fill out by hand. Meaning,
Which two?
all the other forms I can send to them for digital signature. But these two forms, the TDS, the real estate transfer disclosure statement, and the SPQ, the seller property questionnaire, these forms need to be checked and descriptions. It actually needs to be filled out by hand by the seller. It can still be done digitally, but the seller actually needs to answer questions. It's not just sign initial, sign initial, sign initial, sign initial. That can be done. That's easy. DocuSign, done. This, the seller actually has to read everything and then answer the questions. Now, the part of this, we should, as agents, by the way, we should never be filling this out for our clients. Never, ever, ever.
Which one?
Don't ever fill this out for your client.
Which one?
The transfer disclosure statement or the seller property questionnaire. Here's the issue. If you do, your client's gonna say, I can't do it. Can you just do it for me? We'll go over the phone together. Can you just type what I'm saying? Here's the problem. If your seller gets sued, the seller's gonna say, why didn't you put that in there? I told you to. Right? You're gonna be the scapegoat. They're gonna blame it on you. It's never the seller's fault, right? I told you to put it in there, you didn't put it in there. Well, my agent knew that. I should have put it in there. Every broker will tell you never touch this document. Never. The only place that you're gonna fill out is here. This is the AVID area. The agent inspection disclosure. This is what our requirement. See attached agent visual inspection disclosure. That's the one that we're gonna check this box. Now, the agent can usually use these 5 lines. You could, and you'll satisfy your requirement. You could describe the entire property in these 5 lines.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There's no room. How can you ever, you can't describe a whole property in 5 lines.
Which one's that? That's the,
This is part of the transfer disclosure statement. So there's an agent requirement, the agent inspection disclosure. So see attached agent visual inspection disclosure. So that's why. That's what happens.
do you check box that?
Check the first box, see attached AVID. And there's gonna be an AVID from the buyer's agent. There's gonna be an AVID and the AVID.
Write anything on those lines or no?
I'm not ever writing anything on these lines. I'm checking the first box. See attached AVID. See attached AVID. The listing agent is gonna give you their AVID. Buyer's agent is gonna do their AVID. So as a listing agent, if I'm not using Brian, okay, so let's just keep going here. Make a physical printout of a form named AVID. You'll need to fill this out yourself while at the property. And all the disclosures for digital signature through DocuSign, except the TDS and SPQ. And there's something called an earthquake hazard report and the KW insurance verification disclosure. The seller will need to fill these out by hand, so they should be emailed separately. We only send documents for signature to our own clients, right? All right, CAR forms available through zip forms. Then we have our KW disclosures. There's something called a KW risk management form that'll only get signed by you, it's a $99 risk fee. So going back to here. So remember we found our checklists here, but there's also one called disclosures. This is where you go for our Keller Williams disclosures. You'll get these off the checklist. So we have an affiliated disclosure. We have an insurance verification one.
Where's the affiliated one?
Affiliated means that we're affiliated with these companies. So who are we affiliated with? We're affiliated with Fairmark Title. We're affiliated with Cannon Hills Closings. We're affiliated with Movement Mortgage and Keller Mortgage. And that's it. We're just putting everyone on notice. Hey, Clearmark Title, you know, our broker gets compensated for using Clearmark Title. Cannon Hills Closings also, it's part of our brokerage. So we're gonna get compensated for that. There's a shared interest. All right.
Where do we get that from?
Every company has an affiliated. Every single company has their own affiliated. Where do we get it from? You're gonna go to,
Is it on the drive?
it's on the drive. It's on KWBH virtual. Other links, right? What was it called? Helpful links. And then approved logos, checklists and disclosures. One of the boxes is checklists. That's where we're gonna go for our checklists. And then there's another one for disclosures. That's what we'll go for those. Um,
Okay, how about you list management?
Okay, the risk management, so let's take a look at that one. So that's a KWBH disclosure. And the risk management is only signed by you, not our clients. So here it is. It's, you put the address, who are you representing? What is the closing date gonna be? Amount of payment is gonna be $99. And then you're gonna sign this. So we pay E&O insurance, right? It's part of our monthly dues. But then additionally, we have a $99 risk fee per transaction. What if you're an agent who does 100 transactions a year? That's a lot of liability for this company. Not only that, you capped on your first 3 transactions, and now you're doing 97 transactions and the company's not making any money on you. Okay, the $99 is covering your insurance for that transaction. But we are a capping company, so once you cap, that's it. This company, we're only making $45,000 here on every agent. This is the maximum that can be made off each agent per year. So if you do a ton of transactions, there has to be something there to pay for the E&O. Right, there has to be. All right. That's pretty much it. I hope I didn't put everyone to sleep. Again, if you use Brian, you don't have to worry about this. I'm here to help you with this. Once you're in a transaction, I will do this with you if you want to do it. I suggest everyone should know how to do it. Now, you can be a very successful agent and never touch a paper. Can't. You can be the most successful agent and all you need to do is network and go out and party. And you can be very successful doing that. Seriously, if you are a social person talking to people about real estate, you can delegate everything else. You can have someone in the office that will write your offers, do your paperwork, do your disclosures, do your showings for you. Like, all you need to do is talk to people.
We get the in-house transaction coordinator
Sure.
and then
I'll help you with your offers. I'll help you with your listing agreements. Brian will help you with your disclosures.
so how would the process look? Okay, someone gets approved, like I send
You
it.
should be spending all your time prospecting and going on listing appointments.
Okay. And everything else.
Everything else you can have someone else do for you.
Oh, God bless you.
Oh, I'm serious.
That's what
I'm
I'm kidding
serious.
about.
Like when I started real estate, I mean, I'm a contract person. Like I love, like the people were in my office that were doing business for 30 years, asking me, JJ, can you help me write an offer for this? I'd be like, what? You're a rock star. You're asking me? I just started real estate. Like, but they knew that I was into contracts, and they're like, and it made me realize that they were very successful just because they were in the social game, right?
Yeah, I feel like frightened by that. I'm like, if I don't understand the contracts part, then I'm not an agent or something.
You don't have to worry about anything except the standard of service that you provide. So you want to talk to people and provide a standard of service. People are going to do business with you because they know you're going to get the job done. The people that are on your team, meaning the escrow, transaction foreign, those people should be operating at your standard of service. If not, find someone else, right? But people are going, it's not that everyone needs you, right? So don't think that your business is only limited to the amount of business that you personally can do. Your business is open wide for you to for everyone expect. It's like if I'm going to do business with you, you're going to provide a certain level of service. It doesn't matter who you put me in contact with on your team. As long as that level of service is being provided, I have no problem with that. Right? Don't think that you personally have to be the one providing it. As long as your team is providing that level of service, all good. No one's going to complain.
And think about it, like, just because you have the people coordinating everything for you, you still need to understand the most important thing, which is that the actual contract, and you're going through that and you're doing that, even if you don't understand all the other processes that the other teams are doing behind the scenes with all the documents, you still know the documents and you know what they need to have and what they're supposed to have to help your client. So even if you're getting all that help, you want the help. You'll want the hand holding a little bit. It'll be great.
There are actually agents, very successful people, that when asked a question will say, please contact so-and-so on my team and they will have an exact answer for you. Like, don't feel that you have to be the one with the answer either. So like, right? I mean, hopefully over time, like you'll be able to explain things, but things that you don't know the answer off the top of your head, you can definitely say, oh, let me find out and I'll get right back to you. Or let me contact this person, or if you need an answer right this second, you can call this person on my team and they'll give you that answer. But those are perfectly legitimate answers. Okay, guys, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we're gonna do more of these new contracts. So we went over the fire stuff. We're gonna do that again at 10. Anything that's new, I do it at 10 o'clock tomorrow, the new contract stuff. And then at 11, we're doing.
Lit a bold.
Is there both one?
No.
Oh, no, skip.
Isn't it online tomorrow? Yeah, for an hour, I
I
think.
think, yeah, you're right. It's a bit shorter.
Yeah.
It's like 2 hours.
11 to 3, I thought.
11, it starts at 11.
Shorter.
Or is it 12?
I don't know, I have it somewhere.
It's not on our calendar, so I got
Or like people who miss the.
people who miss everything.
You didn't send a link yet.
So it's a refresher course, I guess,
I don't know what it is.
Say it's a refresher course, I think.
for people that missed session one.
One session, sorry.
Is that what it is? One to-
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be done much.
What the, oh.
So my course at 11 tomorrow is inspections and negotiations. That's not a long course. That's not a long course at all.
So it shows us like, what do we say is, how does the process work?
I'll be done by noon. It's a 1 hour class.
Okay.
So. Send them some tasks, give me some.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, bye, everybody.
Didn't mean a thing.
Because it's like.